Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on Monday, October 6th, 2014 at 1400 in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time. Now, I'm going to go into the other room here to talk to y'all because Paul is having a nap. It's his day off. He has tomorrow off as well. Uh, and so he's having a nap. Good for him. I actually was. I'm starting to get back into reading rather than sort of obsessing about this internet videoing stuff. All that in no way means I'm giving up YouTube by any means. It just means I'm not going to spend so much time in front of the screen. Maybe. Maybe. What I did is I finished up in the last 2 days. I've finished up 2 books. I finished up Philip Jenkins' The Great and Holy War, which the first sort of 40% of the book describes the cultural response and the religious response to World War One, and then actually the second 60% of the book, which really is probably the most significant part of the book, deals with the period between the end of the First World War and into the 1930s, but then also by extension into the 1950s, where a lot of the religious conflicts, particularly in the Near East and Middle East, particularly involving the Muslims, and also the Muslims versus Christians, and the various secular governments, and of course Israel got established. And it's interesting to read this in the context of what's going on today. So anything by Philip Jenkins is a good read, so I highly recommend it to you. Then the other book I finished up this morning. I woke up at 3 and I finished it up in a couple hours. I was pretty much nearly done with it anyway. It's called The Burning Shore by Ed Offley. And it's how Hitler's U-boats brought World War II to America. And it discusses the German U-boat attacks off the east coast of America, particularly in 1942. January to late summer of 1942. And it uses as its handle an encounter between the first American plane to actually sink a U-boat, and then that U-boat commander, the commander of the boat that was sunk. Turns out that 6 of the men in this boat that was sunk survived the attack. The way they survived is basically almost worth the price of the book alone, in terms of how they escaped from the submarine and went to the surface and lasted in the water for basically not quite 60 hours before they were rescued by an American seaplane. it's interesting that with the Gulf Stream current, they were 100. By the time they were rescued, they had drifted 110 nautical miles northeast of the position where they had been sunk. So I recommend this book to you as well. This guy wrote a book about the sinking of the Thresher. The Scorpion, called Scorpion Down, and I've not read that, but I think I may search that out and read that too. I remember that when that happened as a kid. I remember reading about it and hearing about it. That and the Thresher. So I've been being a good boy, and so now that means I can get back to this brick. Paul and the faithfulness of God. So when I wake up in the middle of the night tonight, I'm going to be reaching for Paul and the faithfulness of God. Where I'm currently sitting, I'm in what I call my chemo chair. This is where I sleep. So basically, you're in my bedroom, I guess. Other than that, I've been, did a little email this morning, watched a little YouTube, and that's been about it. So I'm going to say bye-bye now, YouTube. Here, I'll let you see my one of my things I have in my house here. This cross was made from glass from St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Delaware, Ohio, from the what would be the equivalent of the clerestory windows before they had to replace them and renovate them because of structural issues with the roof, and that set of walls in that particular addition to the church. And the bowls were made by my uncle, who, after he retired, roamed around Warren County, Ohio, and would find tree stumps and dig up the tree stumps, or chainsaw off the tree stumps down to the ground, and then put them in the back of his car. He'd take them home, and he would make these bowls. He'd stick them on his lathe and make these bowls. So my uncle would make these bowls, and initially, he let them air dry, and then as he got older, he got impatient, so he'd microwave them, and then when he'd do that, then they would split, and then he'd have to putty in the cracks. And when he died, he had over 300 of these things, and he and my aunt didn't have any children. So the 10 first cousins got the estate, and we each of us got 30, 31, 32 of these bowls. I still have 20 or 23 of them left. I've been trying to give some of them away. Not because I don't like them. I mean, obviously I like them. It's like family stuff, but in the north bedroom where the boxes are, I mean, these things take up a considerable amount of space. And if I can get them cleared out a bit, I can maybe then rearrange some stuff in there and actually start to use the bed in there rather than my chemo chair. I mean, they're very nice. I mean, he put his name on the bottom. He engraved the name on the bottom, and engraved the type of wood and the date he made it, and oh, it's not like I don't like them. I mean, I like them very much. I mean, they're very beautiful, you know. He did a series of these things with recurved rims, and he said those were always the hardest to do because, you know, those were the ones that generally would just fly apart on the lathe, you know, when he was trying to do these things. So the ones with the recurved rims are the most, you know, sort of fragile, desirable. Looks like, sounds like Paul may be getting up here. And we've had it's been fairly cool here. You know, we're now up to like 52, but it's been in the mid 40s most of the day. And as you can see, we have our heaters on. It's getting to be that time of year, guys. So officially now, bye-bye YouTube.